Princess Catherine returned after a spring break, sporting a very casual attire in the Isles of Mull and Iona. We also have Princess Isabella celebrating her glorious 18th birthday. Queen Mary, Crown Princess Victoria, Queen Maxima, of course, during a state visit with Catherine Amalia and all the Dutch ladies there for King's Day in the Netherlands. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Royal Fashion News. My name is Brittany. This is the channel for all those who have a passion for royal fashion. And this is the best and worst dressed of the week. One of my favorite profiles that we do, just going over some of the ladies' looks, and I decide which ones I put in the best and worst columns. Of course, you are free to disagree. And as a reminder, this is all in good fun. But I also want to share something very exciting as well, which is that Royal Fashion News is officially on Shop My. So if you want to check out some of the ladies' fashions, maybe invest in something yourself, you are feel free to check out this link. I put everything sort of by outfits and what event they were at. And some of the links are affiliate links. Some of them are actually not, because some brands like this Holland Cooper blazer is actually, they are not a part of Shop My. So I did link it in case you are interested, but it's not an affiliate. The Bowden one is. A couple other of these are and are not as well. So if you're interested in checking out and learning more about the fabulous royal fashion, we've had 2 orders already. We also have a 250 and under tab. So if you want some of those more affordable royal outfits, let me know. We'll have a royal dupes edition as well. And royal favorites, I think, will be just sort of the continual items that the ladies use, although I feel like most of this will end up being shoes. So we got to figure out exactly how that looks. It looks like the pictures here got misplaced. But anyways, and I have a tab for my favorites. So if you want to know what I use for my hair or for my makeup, that will be there as well. And there will be a special tab just for this particular video. So I will put a YouTube tab here. And so for all these items that are in this video, or at least all the ones that I can, I will link them there. So if you want to check out and purchase any of those items for yourself, you're welcome to follow the link up above, and you will see as many items as I can will be linked in that particular video. So I'm very excited about this because I think, especially for my unboxings of royal fashion, this will make things much easier to share. So guys, feel free to check that out. So to begin, guys, we will start with the worst dress, and we will begin with Crown Princess Victoria of Sweden. One of my favorites. She has a lovely smile, is incredibly photogenic in terms that she gives you just tons of expressions. Very, very fun to photograph. But she went to an elementary school in Bromma to do a litter picking up day arranged by Keep Sweden Tidy Foundation. And it looks like the scarf is eating her. The scarf is too big. It's sort of haphazardly wrapped around her, and her jacket is way, way, way too big. This is just like such a weird one because it's like, it's supposed to be casual. It's kind of fine, but the scarf looks like it's eating her. So there was a way, I think, to tie the scarf to make it something that's usable and functional, but also stylish. I think Catherine does this really, really well. I would imagine Queen Mary does this well too. Although there's this one time where she was wrapped up in this scarf and I'm like, ooh, that's not so great. Anyways, I think this look, oh, it could use a lot of work. I love Crown Princess Victoria. Again, guys, I think she's absolutely lovely, but this is sort of a hot mess. And I do have to put it on the worst dressed list and give it a bit of a thumbs down. According to Unidentified No More, the scarf is from Laurel Piana and the jacket is from Acme. It looks like, again, the jacket's too big. The pants are fine. The jeans are great, but the scarf and the jacket just don't work in this particular situation. All right, guys, next we have Queen Matilda of the Belgians on the best dress list in this gorgeous sapphire red dress for the award ceremony for the Ballet Labor Biomedical Awards for 2025. I just think this little caped dress is really pretty. Unfortunately, it's no longer available, but I think she looks gorgeous in it, to be quite honest. And I think it really works for her. So I do have to sort of give this one a huge thumbs up. Very, very much a fan. So bravo, Queen Matilda. All right, guys, next on the worst dress list is one that's not too bad, but the pants definitely are a smidge too long. Now, you might be thinking about Meghan Markle, But oh, no, no, no. I have a whole video ranting about Meghan's pants that she wore in New York City, but this is Princess Charlene of Monaco. She is an event toward sports and physical education. So she was there in this Armani suit, which is quite pricey, but I just do think the pants are a bit too long. She was pretty much wearing flats there, Gianvito Rossi flats. And so I do like the shoes. I do like the notion of wearing flats. I feel like shorter heels are starting to really become an it thing, but I just don't think she looks too great, to be quite honest. I just do think that the pants being a bit too short sort of gives the impression of getting something out of your dad's closet. So I think they could have been hemmed. However, to be fair as well, I will say that maybe she was more intending to wear these as heels or with heels and then decided at the last minute maybe she was having foot issues or something and changed it to flats. Because I would imagine that would disrupt the length of the pants. And so the question is, does she plan on wearing flats more? Will she go for heels more? So we shall see. Obviously, Queen Letizia has had to move towards a lower heel because of her issues with her feet. So I don't know if Charlene's dealing with something like that. Maybe this is just a one-off, but it was just, an interesting thought that crept into my mind. So I do, though, have to put this one on the worst. All right, guys, next on the best dress list, and this is one that I find a little fascinating because while I do like it, I can also see how it's a bit odd, but at the same time, the proportions work really, really well. And this is Queen Letizia of Spain. She is wearing a beige cropped jacket. She has some wide leg trousers on, a Carolina Herrera bag, some Massimo Dutti shoes. And I have to say, this look, I think, is a great example, a great counter example, to use the phrase, of Meghan Markle's sort of disastrous look with Ralph Lauren, the suit that she wore in New York City recently, because Meghan's suit made her look short because the proportions were too long and she couldn't totally fill them out. The pants were too long. They weren't tailored correctly. Whereas Letizia is actually lengthening herself by having the high-waisted pants and then matching them with a cropped jacket. Now, you have to have a particular, I think, body type to pull this off. I don't think everybody could, but it worked for Letizia. And I think that's what's truly important here is that the proportions actually work really, really well. And ergo, I sort of like this. It's a bit out of the box, it feels, but at the same time, I think it also looks great. So bravo to Letizia. All right, guys, moving on, we have King's Day in the Netherlands, and we are doing a twofer here on the worst dress list with Queen Maxima and Princess Katharina Amalia. Now, this is really probably about Maxima more because there's nothing really all that wrong with Amalia's look, but there is something that's sort of like, was that really the best option? So I'll tell you guys what I'm thinking later. But in regards to Queen Maxima, she is wearing a Natan blouse and skirt, and she has some Gianvito Rossi pumps on. And it's a weird look. It's sort of like really odd. It feels like, and I've said this on other things, it feels like a bit of a Project Runway reject type of thing because like the blouse looks like half done on top. I don't get what the blouse is. Like I love the skirt, but it also seems like sort of unfinished. It reminds me a bit of Charlotte, Princess Charlotte at Meghan and Harry's wedding. And her skirt, if you like look at the pictures, is like totally uneven because it's like half done. This looks very shoddy. The workmanship here is not looking great. And so while I actually like the lines of this look a lot, I'm a really big fan of A-line and skirts and everything, but the blouse, the half-constructed blouse, I mean, come on. There's better things to do. The fascinator is great. I like it. I like most of everything else she wears, but this is just... The top definitely does ruin it for me very, very sadly. So unfortunately, it's a Philip Tracy hat, but I have to give this one boop, 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 a thumbs down. Not sure why anybody would buy this particular blouse, especially when the craftsmanship looks like that. Now, when it comes to Amalia, I like the color and I like the price point. This is actually a dress that's under $200. I mean, $198 or something. But you can definitely get it here in the States in a lot of different colors. It's a Ralph Lauren. So I really like the price point and how approachable it is. However, what I don't like is that I feel like it's a little too short for the occasion. Her mom and her sisters went longer, and they did go up on a stage. And so I feel like because of that, would probably be better to go with something a bit longer. It's a long day too. So I feel like just for comfort's sake and in case of wind or something like that, probably better to have something that's below the knees. And I know some people will be like, oh, Brittany, you're a prude. No, it's just not that. It's just like more practicality type things, because a gust of wind can make your day not so fun. Now, this didn't really have a full skirt, so you didn't have that issue. I was actually watching a paparazzi thing on Instagram last night, getting prepared for like the Met Gala and stuff. And Nikki Hilton got out of a car and she had a hard time with her skirt flying up. And she was just trying to get from her car door to the event door, which was, 20 feet across. So not a long length, but she was definitely very worried about it. So I think it would have been best to have something that's a bit longer. And then also you have the shoes. The shoes looked to be very wrong. Like her sister and her mom were both Maxima wears those GMV Rossis all the time. Alexia had some lower heeled things on, which I thought were great. I feel like that's become really in style now. And I'm sort of adopting and letting go of my desire for very high heels and embracing the lower heel view of the world. Although sometimes those can be just as uncomfortable. Anyways, I feel like the Stuart Weitzman are like a little odd because it tends to be kind of still fairly cold. So I just feel like this whole outfit is not, I don't think, the perfect choice for this particular event. I think it's better to have something maybe a little bit longer, and also something to have maybe not these sparkly sandals. I don't know. Her feet must have been killing her. Like, I don't know how she did it with her feet. Like, I don't know. I had these pair of like shorter heels and I wore them not even that long, and they were killing my feet. And they were short heels. They were only like maybe 65, 85 millimeters. And I still had the most horrific time. So I see Amalia here and I'm like, oh, I don't know about these shoes. So anyways, guys, I think for the worst dress list, we get a 2 for here. But these are my thoughts. I think I have to give both looks a bit of a thumbs down, though, for very different reasons. All right, guys, sticking with our King's Day theme, because I did tease her and I think it's just appropriate to go over Princess Alexia's look. I think she looks fantastic. I think she looked the best out of the 3. She is wearing a beige skirt and blouse. She also has some Cezanne shoes on, in addition to a motor jacket from Massimo Dutti. And I really like this look. I think there's a casualness to it, yet it's also appropriate. Now, sometimes it's a little ridiculous to have the jacket sitting on your shoulders. I mean, it does sit well. So, can't give too much flack for that. But I really do like that this is a monochrome look for the most part. And yet she has a touch of color with the bag and the heels. I really like that combination. I think it's pretty spectacular. So I do have to say, this is a great look for me. I really like it. I really like everything about it. I think it's appropriate for the occasion. She's not taking away too much attention from her mother or anything, or her sister. And it's sort of, you could almost argue, a sort of a background look. And I feel like it looks really, really good. So I have to give it a massive, massive thumbs up. I think Alexia will definitely be one of the stars of the family for sure. And I think she pulled out some of her and showed off some of her fashionista skills in this ensemble. All right, everyone. Next, we have Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, and she is in this Beulah London number. And it's just really fussy for me. That's where I sort of lean on it. And Beulah London can lean towards that way. They have some really loud prints and patterns, and I just feel like it kind of overwhelms her. I mean, she's sticking with more neutral accessories. She looks like she has her Prada pumps on. I think that's maybe one of her Anya Heinmark clutches there. She has a hat, which I wasn't able to identify yet. And I mean, it's a nice look, but at the same time, I feel like a softer pattern would have been better. It just seems very, very loud. And she was going to attend a service for the Victoria Cross and George Cross Association. So I think I do have to put this one, unfortunately, on the worst dress list. All right, guys, next we have a Queen Mary of Denmark, and she has the Countess Danner exhibition there. And she had a couple of looks for this, both of which I like. Although I think my favorite is this blue coat dress ensemble, especially when she paired it with the wrap. It looks just so elegant and gorgeous, and she has her GMV Tarasi pumps on, and we're just all so much of styling. And I do have to say, I like this look quite a bit, and I also like the look she wore when she officially opened. So she did sort of a pre-opening in this blue coat dress, and then she did an official opening in this purple blouse and black skirt ensemble. The blouse is from Prada, and I do think she looks unbelievably stunning in both, but I do have to lean towards the blue. I think it looks absolutely gorgeous, and I'm excited about this exhibition. It's actually quite cool because Countess Danner was the wife of the king, but because she was a ballerina and stage actress, she actually didn't have the title of queen. She couldn't have it. So although she was really acting in that way, she couldn't hold the title. So I thought that was sort of an interesting little side piece of history there, but I do think she looks absolutely gorgeous, stunning, and elegant. So now we have Queen Letizia and some, they're very simple. This is just a Hugo Boss dress. She has this gorgeous belt on there, but I just love this as sort of mourning ensemble that she has for Pope Francis's death. And she also has another dress. This is a Carolina Herrera one with a button detail. Both of them just look absolutely spectacular. They're very simple, streamlined, but yet also very elegant as well. And I love the look of elegance. It's one of those things that I really appreciate. And she's not going too overboard or anything. I mean, honestly, these are not very exciting, but I think she looks very, very stylish. All right, guys, next for the worst dress list, we do have Queen Maxima yet again. Yeah, I know she does make a number of appearances on here. It's just kind of hard to avoid. But this one is for a Nathan Couture outfit. As always, if it's weird looking, it's probably Nathan. That's sort of the thing I go with. And she has this particular ensemble that's like weird blouse made out of like raincoat material. And it's just a little ugly looking. And the thing sort of works, the outfit sort of works. When the coat is closed, I don't totally mind it. We're mixing like a forest green with a gray. It sort of kind of works. But then this weird pleather, strange, like suffocating looking blouse comes into play. And I just always wonder why. Maxima can look great, but there's so many outfits where I wonder why this? And this is one of those outfits. I don't quite understand it. I think it would have looked great with just a normal turtleneck. I don't know why we had to go with a pleather suffocating turtleneck, but I mean, to each their own, I guess. But I do have to say I would prefer to have this one on the worst dress list over the best dressed. All right, guys, next we have Princess Madeleine of Sweden, and she did an interview with a German publication, and she wore this Veronica Beard ensemble. She has a blazer on. I believe the pants are also Veronica Beard. The pumps are probably Gianvito Rossi or Manolo Blahniks. I think I lean towards Manolo. We couldn't get a great look at him. Either way, I think this is a fantastic ensemble. Very simple, not super exciting, but that's what makes it good. Sometimes it's just really nice to see something that's simple, that's clean, that's not too exciting, and encompasses the things that it needs to. And so I really do like this look, and I have to give it a huge thumbs up. And I will say, guys, I do love Veronica Beard. I think their stuff is awesome. I sort of like the style and the aesthetic quite a bit. And Madeleine is a huge fan. Meghan Markle has also worn some of their ensembles, but I prefer most of what Princess Madeleine chooses. All right, guys, next for the worst dress list, we have Queen Mary of Denmark at Princess Isabella's 18th birthday. So she re-wore an outfit that she wore about 18 years ago for the first time. And guys, I actually got to see all of this in person because I was there. I took pictures. I was like right in front of them. It was awesome and amazing, especially to see the Danish rubies was absolutely spectacular. They really look incredible in person. But I'm just not really a fan of this look. I appreciated that she went with something that's a really long time rewear. She actually wore it last year. But the blouse to me seems quite dated. The construction is not all that impressive. Although it is impressive after 4 children that she still fits into that. And then she also has this sort of embellished skirt. I'm just not a fan of that either. I don't feel like the blouse and the skirt go together. And so I do have to say I give this one a thumbs down. However, I do give it a thumbs up because Mary decided to go with something very understated, a long time rewear, so to not outshine her daughter. So in that way, I do have to say bravo to Queen Mary. All right, guys, next we are back to the Netherlands, I've got to say, for Queen Maxima in this burgundy dress, which I actually really, really like. And to be fair, I think the pop of yellow here is actually really gorgeous. It's just a little too leans into the Lion King for me. We had the Lion King reject last week, and we have another variation of the Lion King here. It looks like a bit of a mane around her neck. And while it's like gorgeous with the burgundy, and I like the rest of the burgundy ensemble, I just don't know why we needed this sort of over the top, ridiculous neck ensemble thing when something much cleaner would have been better. Now, it is Max, so she loves those kind of things. And I mean, we sort of love that she loves them. Like, I don't totally doubt that. But at the same time, it is a little much. So my personal thought is to leave this sort of type of ensemble at home and go with something like a little bit simpler here. I think it would have been better. That's just me, but I'm just not a fan of this whole sort of messiness of the necklace. I think it would have looked much better with some just of the gorgeous rubies and diamonds within the Dutch collection. All right, guys, next we have a Queen Mary at the Pope's funeral. She wore this gorgeous black skirt suit, which I just really, really love. I just thought it was absolutely amazing. It was an Ondiata suit with Gianvito Rossi pumps. She had a mulberry bag with her, and I just thought this was just really classic and elegant. I just thought really she stood out among all the royals at the funeral. She really stood out for having just a beautiful ensemble. I have to give her mad props for that. So bravo, Queen Mary, who made it on the best dress list yet again. All right, guys, we are back over to the worst dress list. And I have to give the next one to Princess Eugenie and her ensemble for Easter. I just didn't really like this. And I think I don't like, number one, sort of the floppy coats. I think they lack a sophistication. So I'm not a super big fan of them. But as well, I just really, really didn't like the hat and how the sort of netting fell over her face. I'm actually a huge fan overall of netting. I really like them with fascinators and everything. But I just don't like sort of the flatness of it. I didn't feel like the netting really actually worked all that well with the hat. So for me, this is sort of a negativo ensemble. It's not one that I particularly like. And again, I just want to say when it comes to royal fashion, I find sort of the floppier coats, the more like wrap floppy coats, just don't tend to look all that great. I think they tend to look a little bit messier than they should. So this is a Reese coat, and her hat is from Emily London, and she has a Reese dress on as well, and some Gianvito Rossi pumps, because everybody loves Gianvito Rossi pumps. I so need to do a whole video on Gianvito Rossi because every royal lady loves the shoes. So, but for this particular look, I just have to give it a thumbs down. All right, guys, next on the best dress list, we have a very exciting addition, which is Queen Maxima and Princess Catherine Amalia of the Netherlands. We're doing a twofer here, and that's because I really like their looks for the state gala. Now, definitely Princess Amalia's was very much a surprise because although the Sophia dress, she tends to go for these capes quite a bit. It's actually becoming sort of her signature style is to have a cape. I think it's because she's a bit self-conscious of her arms. That would be sort of my guess. But I think this look is gorgeous. I love the lavender color. I think it's great. She's wearing some Aquazzura Ari 105 sandals in metallic. So I think that's really great. And she's wearing the Dutch Ruby Mellorio tiara, which is actually quite a big tiara. Generally, it would be considered kind of a big gun. It was actually a big deal when Maxima wore it about 10, 15 years ago. I think she debuted it for the first time. Maybe it was at the wedding of Grand Duke William to Grand Duchess Stephanie. Now, they in Luxembourg, that was, I think, the first time maybe Maxima wore that particular tiara because it's quite grand. And so to see Amalia wear it was a bit of a surprise. And she has previously worn it in a picture that she took as a child of her in her mother's closet, which is like really amazing because it's a substantial piece. It's an older piece. And so she was just like fiddling around in her mother's closet and put it on. There's actually a story from Catherine Amalia's little biography that she has that already came out, which I own, but it's all in Dutch. And it talks about how Amalia would quite frequently steal her mother's jewelry. And I mean, steal in a loose way. And it would not be a surprise to hear around the Dutch household, Amalia, where's my jewelry? That is apparently quite something that is heard quite a bit. She's apparently very passionate about the jewelry within the family, which I think is super duper cool because that means you have an appreciation for it. You love the history, you love what it means for the family and everything. And I think that's really awesome. Queen Maxima is wearing a gown that she previously wore for the wedding of Crown Prince Hussein of Jordan. So it's quite an intricate gown, and it's called the Mahpara Khan embroidered gown. Now, I feel like it's a little heavy, but given that they were hosting Oman, it was very apt that she wore this particular dress. It seems very appropriate. So I don't give her too much flack for that, but it's not my favorite, I do have to say. But I do think she looks amazing. And she really looks good in the Württemberg ornate pearl tiara here. And I gotta say too, there were some really great pictures of the two of them. And sometimes for me, when I just see the fashion, it's not just that the fashion looks good, it's just that they look good in it. I think that's something that people miss sometimes, is that it's not only does it look good, they have to look good in it. And they really shined and sparkled. I thought everything was on point. And so I feel like I have to give both of them a big thumbs up here. Next, we are going back to Windsor for Easter and Princess Beatrice's look here. She is wearing a Belula London dress, which we've seen before, but I don't know. For some reason, this time for me, it seems a bit, I don't know, what dare you say, frumpy. And I think the hat is not helping at all. The hat, or the fascinator, it's from Justine Bradley. It's just sort of terrible. It just, like, the way it sits on her head is not great. And she looks great in some of these particular pieces. So I find this a bit surprising, but for some reason it really doesn't work. I don't know if it's the placement of her head or what have you, but I just remember thinking, it could be better. I do like her Mary Jane pumps that are from Amelia Wickstead. I would not mind having those myself, although I do have a pair of velvet Gianvito Rossi pumps that are essentially the same. So I can't justify that, but I just feel like this didn't particularly work. She has this dress now in several different colors, so this is not a surprise ensemble, but I just feel like the hat really dragged down the look. I felt like maybe the fit was wrong or something, because it just, I didn't think looked very flattering on her. And we've seen these look much more flattering before. Obviously, she had her daughter not too long ago, so that could be part of it. But anyways, I just got to say, not a huge fan of this particular look. All right, guys, so for our second best look of the week, I know you're probably thinking this one is going to be the first, but it's actually going to be the runner-up, and that is Catherine, the Princess of Wales, in both of her ensembles when she was doing a tour with Prince William over there on the Isles of Mull and Iona. So both of these looks are very similar, so I feel obligated to sort of put them together because they both have these earthy tones. Are both skinny jeans with blazers, and then you have a sweater or a button up with them. So I just feel like there's not really much use in differentiating them that much. But I both think these are lovely. They're perfectly suited to the occasion, not super exciting, but at the same time, I think always so put together. What I always appreciate about Catherine is that no matter if it's a super high-end gala look or it's a very casual look, she puts a lot of intention into everything she wears. Everything looks well coordinated. Everything looks very well pressed. So you rarely get wrinkles. You rarely get other issues I feel like other royal ladies have. And so even if she uses a scarf, it's very carefully placed. And I think these looks are both great. I really like the Holland Cooper blazer, although now they're more expensive with the tariffs and everything. And so I really do like, though, both of the looks. And if I had to choose, maybe I would go with the first day, although I like the second day's look too. And so we have a Holland Cooper blazer with a Bowden shirt, and then underneath we also have some skinny jeans, and I was able, guys, to get the Bowden shirt. So we shall do a full review of that shirt here, hopefully before too long. I'm not sure exactly when it's supposed to get in, but hopefully pretty soon here. And in her other look, Catherine is wearing a Ralph Lauren blazer. She has a sweater and a button-up shirt that is from Bowden. I'm not sure about the sweater, but it's a very, again, carefully constructed ensemble. It looks like she's wearing her G-Star pants, her Chloe boots. So this is a very, I feel like, appropriate for what they were doing, just absolutely perfect. And I have to give it a big thumbs up, but it is not the best look of the week. And guys, this is not the one either or the worst dress look of the week, but I couldn't figure out how to like switch off and get to this particular look. I kind of messed up because I kept changing my list, but I do have to give a shout out to Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. I do like this look. This was at the Westminster Abbey service. She is wearing a Susanna London dress with some Penelope Chilvers. See, pumps, I believe those are. And I do like her fedora. So I do have to give this look a thumbs up as well. So it's kind of an honorary sort of on the best dress list look, but we're not going to spend too much time on it. So guys, when it comes to the worst dress, I had a bit of a challenge with this one because there was no look these last 2 weeks, because technically this video goes until April 30th. So April 15th through the 30th of the fashion looks. And there was nothing that stuck out to me as like the worst, something I could really rail against. And then I realized Meghan Markle, I forgot about her. So we don't always include her, but this time I really need somebody to be on the worst dress list. And I really did hate her suit here from Ralph Lauren. It is too long. It is simply too long. It makes her look short. It makes her look kind of mannish, to be quite honest. It's not flattering. And it's not stylish. Yes, menswear is in, but always the mark of a good fashionista is to recognize the trends and amend them in ways that work for you. Meghan Markle is too short for those type of pants. Her legs are also very, very tiny, like very thin. She has naturally very thin limbs. And so I feel like the overly wide pant legs are not really good for her. She needs something that's a little bit smaller because she's not tall enough to, I think, really pull off long pants in that same way. You have to have a certain level of height to really pull off certain things. And we see this at the Met Gala. I've been trying to follow it. It's been very, very blah this year. It's kind of been horrible. Anyways, I noticed Zendaya had this gorgeous suit, and it works for her in part because Zendaya is tall. There's something about height that sort of elongates you, and you can pull off certain looks better. Meghan cannot pull this look off, and it looks pretty bad. So it is definitely the worst look of the last 2 weeks for sure. I have a whole video on it if you want to hear even more ranting about Meghan Markle and her horrible trend with trousers. All right, guys, I'm sure since Catherine wasn't the best look of the week, I'm sure some of you are curious who is the best look of the last 2 weeks. And the answer is quite simple. It is Princess Isabella of Denmark, wearing her Jesper hovering gown at her 18th birthday concert. This gown is spectacular. Yes, I know, I over-enunciated that. It's fine. It's amazing. I actually saw this dress in person. It was stunning in person, and it was just gorgeous. I just loved it. It's so classic. It's so elegant. It's so Grace Kelly, and it's just fabulous. I thought for a first gala look, it was unbelievably incredible. I can't wait to see her wear it more. And she does have now a tiara she can wear, which is a turquoise daisy. So we shall see if that is something that I'm sure would work with that dress. But it was just had these stunning details. It had sparkle, and it was this dark blue color. And I just thought it was so flattering on her, because there's a couple of things I've seen her wear and I'm like, I think either the cut or the style or whatever is not as flattering as it could be on her. But this was flawless. This was absolutely flawless. I give her a huge, huge, huge thumbs up for this, and absolute congratulations. She looks incredible. So happy birthday, Isabella. It was an honor to photograph you around your 18th birthday, and she is by far the best look of the last 2 weeks. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. What do you think of my number one choice? I know everybody was expecting Catherine, because it's always kind of Catherine, but especially because I saw her actually in person wearing this particular dress, I think Isabella looked Absolutely incredible and amazing. So, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you really appreciated it. Give me your comments down below, and I shall talk to you again very soon. Bye.